In this video, take a look at applications of percents. Specifically, we're going to look at the sentences that are typically used, like the what is 10.5% of 20, that sort of thing. Just the simplified sentences. I'll have a separate video on here's a word problem. Now figure out what you have to use and where. So there's two main ways to solve applications of percents in these sentences. The one is probably better if you're more equation oriented like me. So if algebra is kind of a strong suit and this is something that you're really comfortable at, then you will probably prefer the equation way. The proportional way is, given my experience in my classes, I would say the more preferred method by my students. But then again, a lot of people that I talk to are not comfortable with algebra. So the proportional method kind of takes away a lot of the algebra for you. Either one does not matter. It's irrelevant which one you choose. You can pick the one that fits you the best. So here we go. So there's three main types of these sentences, and it's really about all there is, because there's only three unknowns. But you're either looking for a percent, you're looking for the part number, that's the is in the proportion, you are looking for the whole, so you're looking for how many pieces in the whole. That kind of sets up a fraction. The is over the of in the proportion sense is the part over the whole. That's kind of the definition, or the structure of a fraction. So in equations, and I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to transition over to proportions. Same exact three examples. I'm just going to do them in the two different ways. So let's start in the equations. While we are working with equations, we are going to need to interpret each and every word that's in the sentence structure. So what is 10% of 20? Or I'm sorry, 10.5% of 20. So what x is equals 10.5%. Now the percent, you can do whichever way you wish, but the percent is over 100. So if you want to convert this to a decimal, by all means go ahead. I'm going to do that eventually, but I'm just going to get this down first. Of means to multiply, and then we have the 20. So what we need to do then is just kind of take this whole right hand side and squish it down. This is going to give me 0.105 times 20. So that's going to move the decimal place over one larger and then times 2. So this should be 2.1. So x is equal to 2.1. And then that's all there is to it. I do have a calculator. I should probably have that with me, huh? Just to make sure here. 0.105 times 20 is in fact 2.1. So at least my brain's on today. Okay, so moving on to the next one. It's the next style. We're not going to change methods. I'm going to stay in the I'm going to stay in the equation method here. Hello, sweet girl. My puppy dog just came in. 266.4 is what percent? This is why I like having it over 100, because it's going to tell us where to put everything. Of 74. Okay, so now how you want to go about doing this is entirely up to you. What I'm going to do is I'm trying to figure out the easiest way to do this without having algebra before. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, listen, you're multiplying, this is over 1. So I'm going to rewrite this as 266.4 is equal to 74 over 100. And then the x is just kind of out to the side. You can then convert that to a decimal, so it's 266.4 is equal to 0.74x. And then we'll just go ahead and divide both of these pieces by 0.74. That's how we get rid of the thing in front of the x. And that's going to give us what? 266.4 divided by 0.74. 360. 360 is equal to x. So to put it back, 266.4 is 360% of 74. The what gets replaced by the number that we find. All right, so final version. And again, these can be kind of nasty. This isn't the way I would have solved it, but if you're more comfortable with algebra, there's quicker ways to solve it. At this point, the reason I'm making this video is people haven't had algebra yet, so we're kind of minimizing the amount of algebra. 24.19 is 41% of what? If you notice, we're kind of right back here. We're at that stage. And so what we can do is we can convert this into a decimal and then just cram it next to the x. So 24.19 is equal to 0.41 x. Now we just go ahead and divide both sides by the 0.41. And then we take 24.19 divided by 0.41 and we get 59. 59 is equal to x. So 24.19 is 41% of 59. Well, 41% is, I'm going to say, close to half, and half of 59 is right around 29. That's a little less than half, so it's a little less than 20. Yeah, all right, that's fair. So it's just a quick check of just mentally, what should I be expecting? All right, well, it's kind of unfair. We already know what the answers are, but let me show you how to do this now in proportions. Proportions are a little bit easier to work with as far as the complication of what thing belongs where. The sad part is, though, is you have to memorize the setup. So where it's a little bit easier to translate into an equation, it's a little harder to translate into proportion, but the algebra in the proportion is a lot easier to deal with. So what is, now 10, we got to do this very carefully because everything's everywhere. What is 10.5% of 20? It's the percent over 100, so it's the percent, we'll say 10.5 just to be lazy, over 100 is equal to the is. Now the is was associated with what, and what is our variable? So x of 20. That sets up your proportion. So the easy peasy way of doing proportions is you cross multiply, because if two ratios are in proportion, their cross products must be equal. That's going to give us 10.5 times 20, which is 210. I should have been able to do that in my head, but I didn't. 210 is equal to 100 times x. You'll notice this first one is actually going to take us a little bit longer, but it's just simply because of the type of version it is. The others are going to be actually a little easier. Divide both sides by 100. This gives me my 2.1 is equal to x. That's it. So getting it into the proportion is going to be the hard part. After that, it's just wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. 200, and I always start at the percent, so it's just easier for me to start with that aspect. So what percent? So this is going to be x percent is equal to, the is the 266.4 of 74. And again, wash, rinse, repeat. We just cross multiply. That's going to give us 74x is equal to 26640. Then we divide both sides by 74. 26640 divided by 74. And we get 360. Now it's good that we're getting the same answers, because otherwise something bad would have happened. So you can see that, I mean, setting it up into the proportions is really kind of the hard part of it. All right, last one here. Now, is and of, if they're squished together, you're kind of going to have to just use your experience and guess which one they're talking about. I'll see if I can come up with an example here and use the is of next to one another in proportion. It doesn't make a difference in equation. The order of is of is completely irrelevant. You just follow the generic equation and you're done. So percent, so 41% equals the is the 24.19 of what? And again, cross multiply. That's going to give us 41x is equal to 2419. Divide both sides by 41. 2419 divided by 41, 59. X equals 59. And there you go. So 2 different ways to do the exact same thing. Pick the one that best fits you. It's not wrong to do either of them. All right, so now I promised that there's kind of a hitch with the proportions. So I'm going to rewrite this this particular question here in a slightly different way. 41% of what is 24.19? Change that to white, and we're going to kind of move that here. Yeah, that'll give us enough room. So when it comes down to this, again, I always start with my percent. It's just easy. So 40, how about a 4 instead of a whatever that was? 41 over 100 equals. Now, you'll notice that I have of what is. So the question is the what associated with the is or the of? And the easy thing to do is to look at the end. The end is only going to be touching one of the words, so that's associated with that word. So is 24.19 goes on top, and then whatever's left of what goes on the bottom. And you'll notice the setup is identical to what we came up with before, so the answer is going to be identical. So that's just one of the little hiccups in proportions. The hiccup in equations is there's typically more algebra. The hiccup in proportions is sometimes the way it's written is a little confusing about putting them into the proportion. So pick whichever, it's fine. Hope this helps.